So, hello everyone, good afternoon. In this session, we are going to discuss again one of the most important topics that's been asked in the GS1 examination of UPSC. Topic is a caste and economics out there, the interplay of caste and economics completely. So, we'll of course look at how caste works, how it's been relevant, how is it relevant, will it continue like it's operate. So we're going to discuss a lot of perspective out there, a lot of statistics, case studies out there in order to understand what the question is, what the demand of the question is, how really caste function in this present modern, postmodern era out there. So that's how things work. So let me tell you one thing very clearly. Let me tell you one thing very clearly out there. That caste हमेशा से बहुत important रही है Indian context. It's been there in our history. अभी भी present है और आगे भी रहेगी. मे बी शायद आज अनटचेबिलिटी को हमने बैन कर दिया थ्रू आर्टिकल 17 ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन एक्ट आउट देयर, बट सर क्या वो उसका रेलेवेंस है? मे बी नॉट. एक्सप्लिसिटली वो प्रैक्टिस हो रहा है? नहीं. इम्प्लिसिटली वो प्रैक्टिस हो रहा है? वेरी मच रेलेवेंट आउट देयर. इवन द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट स्कॉलर्स आउट देयर, एंड्रे बेते and what you call various sociologists or economists out there, they call it that it's still practiced. It's still practiced on a wide large scale out there. It's still practiced. अब सर द पॉइंट इज कि इट्स बीन देयर सिंस एजेस. जब से ऑब्वियसली पहले से था इंडिया में. जब इवन ब्रिटिशर्स आए, दे गॉट कंफ्यूज बिटवीन द कास्ट एंड द क्लास आउट देयर. उन्हें समझ ही नहीं आ रहा था कि ये सिस्टम है क्या एक्चुअली. उन्होंने इसके साथ जो देखा वो क्लास के साथ एसोसिएट कर दिया. उन्होंने कहा ठीक है यार, जो बहुत अमीर लोग होते होंगे, मे बी they are certain upper caste people, and जो गरीब लोग होते हैं, they are, I mean, lower caste people. That's how thing works, and that's how exactly class works. There are certain people at the top of the pyramid out there. There's a certain number of people that belongs to the bottom of the pyramid out there, economic pyramid out there. So that's how they connected class with the caste out there. But it's a false inference out there. It's a false inference out there. It's not exactly how caste works out there, sir. It's not exactly how caste works. In order to understand what caste is, let me bring back to you to my PPT out there. We'll discuss about this, what caste is, how it's been there. Again, it's a very important topic, especially for the GS1 examination, for the essay examination out there, for the GS4 examination out there. All these stuff, it's extremely important topic. Even you can use these case studies in your essay out there. That will bring value enrichment to your essay and will fetch you more marks out there. Unparalleledly, one of the most important issues. Out there. And again, it's been out there for long enough. Let's go on to the PPT. So, sir, is caste relevance? It's relevant, sir. It's completely relevant out there. Even today, it's been relevant. Sir, earlier there was a tendency, आपको जैसे मैंने बताया कि how British interrelated class with the caste out there, but that's not the case. Caste is a very different thing. It's born out of Varna system. It's born out of Varna system. It's born out of Varn system. Now, what's this Varn system in caste? Let me make a pyramid for you. So, as you all know, you must have been aware about the Indian history out there. At the top of the pyramids, there are called Brahmins. At second level, it's Kshatriyas. At third level, it's called Vaishyas. And at fourth level, we have Shudras out there. The Varn system was typically based on occupation. It's an occupational level division. Out there. Occupation based. So, for example, if someone is too learned out there, as a person out there, he has learned every sort of Ved or every sort of Granth out there, he will be called as Brahmin because he's a learned person out there. If someone is a prince out there or someone is a king whose primary role is to protect his kingdom out there, he'll be considered as a Kshatriya. Someone is doing a business out there or doing a lending activities out there, he'll be called as a Vaishya because he's a businessman out there. And Shudras, their primary role was to serve these upper Varnas. Serve these upper ones. And at last, there are untouchables. Untouchables. All Chandelas in ancient history. Chandelas. Chandelas in ancient history. That's how thing works. That's how thing works. This is a basic pyramid, how one system works out there. But let me tell you one thing. Complete occupation based. Completely occupation based out there. It's not an ascribed status, it's an achieved status. What's the difference between an ascribed and an achieved status? Sir, in achieved statement, you inherit certain division based on your occupation. Based on your occupation, it's an achieved status. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर आप डॉक्टर बन जाते हैं या लॉयर हैं तो ये आपने अचीव करा है. अगर आप लॉयर बनते हैं तो आपने LLB करी है, आपने डॉक्टर बने हैं तो आपने MBBS करी है. तो ये अचीव स्टेटस है कि आपने इस चीज की पढ़ाई करी, इस चीज की डिग्री ली, देन यू बिकम अ सर्टेन पर्सन आउट देयर, सर्टेन प्रोफेशन आउट देयर, एंड यू अचीव दैट स्टेटस. Not ascribed. Ascribed is by birth. Ascribed is by birth, which by birth. Again, system was designed to create a specific layers of occupation out there. एक सोसाइटी को पर्टिकुलरली एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में सेटअप करना है, एक सर्टेन डिवीजन होनी चाहिए, लेयर्स होनी चाहिए बेस्ड ऑन ऑक्यूपेशन. ये कोर आइडिया था, लेकिन इट गॉट मॉडिफाइड ओवर द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. लेटर इट गॉट मॉडिफाइड, फिर एज अ ये अचीव स्टेटस को एस्क्राइब स्टेटस में बदल गया. It just transformed from achieve to an ascribed status out there. Now, based on birth, you'll decide in which one he will belong to. Which one he will belong to. That's an ascribed status, and that's the major issue of this one system. Major issue of this one system, that it got modified from an achieved to an ascribed status. From an achieved to an ascribed status out there. That's how thing works. That's how thing works. Again, within word, there were caste. There were caste. Caste. Caste was further subdivided into subcaste. Subcaste. For all these things. For all these things. Caste. Caste. Like one of the castes of Brahmins is Shukla. Shukla. Vaishyas. Again, caste. Caste. Like Agarwals. Rudras and societies divided into caste and subcaste out there. Divided into caste and subcaste out. This is how it belongs. This is how it belongs. I hope you got this. How things work in this. How things work. This is how Varna system. That's a basic thing. But so the problem is, it led to obviously many movements out there. Even the B.R. Ambedkar was one of the victims of this one system. Was so frustrated for this that he renunciated Hinduism for that. He renunciated Hinduism for that because he said, "यार ये system जो इतना अत्याचार कर रहा है, I don't want to be part of this religion as such." So that's what the words of B.R. Ambedkar. He later obviously adopted Buddhism as well. So ये सारे words थे इनके, ये सारे इनके words थे. So what happens? So what exactly happens कि ये Varna system? That's how system works. Later on, it's got modified again. Later it's got modified from an achieved to an ascribed status has become. Now what? After one system is done, even say, let me tell you, MG Mahatma Gandhi's perspective. He was a pro-Varna system. Says there is nothing bad in dividing society based on certain learning and based on someone's occupation out there. He was a pro-one system. Not everyone was a pro-one system. That's why there was a conflict between Mahatma Gandhi and B.R. Ambedkar out there in the history. That's why there was a conflict between B.R. Ambedkar and what else? Mahatma Gandhi out there. So that's how a basic system is. That's how traditionally it functions. Traditional functions. What are the major another issues of one system? The major things that caste operates, how caste operates, still operates. How caste operates? Caste operates. How caste operates? Caste operates in two things. Caste operates in caste operates in two. One is, sir, that is marriage within caste. That's called endogamy. Endogamy. That is marriage within one caste. That is marriage within one caste. Marriage with one caste. And another thing is inheritance, what we call an ascribed status. You will be born in a certain caste, you will feel that. For example, if you are born in a certain family and you will inherit that caste till your birth, till your death, you will inherit that caste till your death. So, ascribed status. There was this famous saying. In India that you can change your economic status out there, but you can't change your caste status. That's a permanent hallmark. That's a permanent tattoo that's been done on your body. That's been done on your identity. You will born in a certain caste. You will die in a certain caste. Of course, you will born in a certain caste. You can change your social status out there, or not social, economic status out there. But again, you can't change what's been there. That's the destiny out there. That's how caste works out there. And these are two of the important characteristics of what you call a caste system, what you call as a caste system out there. That's a major characteristics of a caste system. Let's go to the people. Now, as you all know that India has been considered as a land of diverse people. There has been a lot of, I would say, a lot of religion out there, a lot of people with the different faiths, a lot of people with the different cultures out there. All these people represent India. But sir, is it that functional, or is it that attractive that it's nothing but what we called as a mixture of all these people with the diverse beliefs out there? No, it's not. There has been a lot of problems with the India as well, and one of the major complexity involved is called caste as well. So does the millennium old caste system still shape social reality? It does, as transformation reading. So it does change. Caste does change social reality. Social reality. As I said before, sir, that endogamy is one of the main characteristics of a caste system out there. Endogamy is the main characteristic of a caste system out there. People used to marry within their caste. That's how thing works within even their village out there. So people work that way. अब क्या होगा जब शादी एक जगह होगी, then there is no scope for another person to enter that system, or claim their varna or caste system out there. That's refined. That's very encircled out there. No one allowed to breach that circle. That's how thing works. So as a result, that's how things says. B.R. Ambedkar says that in his latest piece or annihilation of caste book, says कि यार आपको अगर if you want to eliminate that caste system and a varna system out there that's been too complex and too rigid out there, सबसे पहले आपको शादी within the caste हटानी पड़ेगी, inter caste करनी पड़ेगी, to eliminate intra caste marriage with inter caste marriage, to eliminate intra caste marriage, intra caste marriage, inter caste marriage with inter caste marriage. तभी caste system change होगा, तभी there will be a shift in the mindset as well. All these stuffs will help out in the long run to eliminate the rigid system or the caste system. But sir, that's been a thing of past. Now what's the present situation? What's the present situation out there? As we have said, varna system out there, social control. Of course, marriage, occupation, social interaction, and access to resources completely depends upon the caste or governed by the caste. System that begin with an occupation segregation now has modified or changed its face in terms of ascribed status. So whenever someone born in a particular caste, he can't eliminate that. It will go down with him with his death. Once you are ascribed with a certain caste, it will remain with you till your last time. No one can eliminate that. Governed by caste. ascribed. So it's a of course luck based system. जहाँ पैदा हो गए हो गए, आपका कोई हाथ नहीं है, कंट्रोल नहीं है. There is nothing you can do much about this. There is nothing you can do much about. So there have been two narratives out there in the present system right now. First is declining relevance out there. First is declining relevance. Of course, there has a lot done. Article 17 was introduced in our constitution to eliminate untouchability out there. Constitutional revolution, the form of Article 17. Article 17. Form of article. Affirmative actions like reservation was there. Reservation, one of the again Supreme Court judgments was there has been a lot of discontent regarding reservation. A lot of general people disregard that. A lot of people says that it's against merit and all this stuff. Reservation itself is a great topic out there. We'll discuss someday another day. But it's a reservation policies. Supreme Court take on this. Supreme Court think that's a measure to control, obviously to reduce historical injustice, or we would say that it's something that's given a compensation for historical injustice. Reservation. It has been given as a compensation for history. Compensation. Or historical injustice. Compensation. That's what's the take of Supreme Court out there. That's what the take of Supreme Court out there. This reservation has been there in order to improve or compensate the people that has been a part of historical injustice out there. That's how thing works. That's how reservation works out there. That's a take of Supreme Court. You may or may not agree with this. Even a lot of people, a lot of journal candidates, a lot of my friends showed discontent for hatred towards the reservation. They say it's against the meritocracy out there. It's against the fair level of competition out there. A lot of things. Even if you have seen UPSC, a lot of people have been misusing these certificates out there, the form of EWS certificates and OBC certificates. They have been misusing that because it's easily accessible. It's a loophole out there in the business or in the government system out there. When you're so rich, even I know certain people who are being flamboyant in their lives, who have exorbitant amount of wealth out there, but they have claimed OBC out there. Can't do anything about that. That's the system, how it works. So is it fair? No. Will it remain in the system? Yes, unless there will be no transparency in the UPSC. Will it affect the real candidates? Yes, it will affect the real candidates. So what we can do? Just wait and watch. Just wait and watch. Economic transformation. Agriculture to services, urban anonymity, and global integration. So rural system is considered to be a den. It's considered to be a den of superstitions. It's called as a den of superstitions because again, सबसे ज़्यादा जो मान्यताएं हैं, पुरानी प्रथाएं हैं, beliefs and system है, that's been prevalent in the rural system out there. Urban system is still new. It's been functioning. It's been corporate hub out there. A lot of people migrate to earn livelihood. No one cares कि किसकी क्या caste है, कौन किस religion का है. They only demand work. कॉर्पोरेट का क्या है, आप कहीं से भी आओ, आपको काम से मतलब होना चाहिए. Once you're done with the काम ना, nothing matters to them. Nothing, not even your caste, not even your religion, not even your family background, or not even your, to some extent, college as well. But उसके बाद उनको कोई काम नहीं है. But rural segment is a very close knitted group. It's a very close knitted group. 500 लोग होते हैं. Everyone knows certain other families out there. क्या उनके बच्चे हैं, क्या relatives है, क्या background है. They know each and everything out there. तो एज अ रिजल्ट वहां ज्यादा प्रैक्टिस होता है एज कंपेयर टू अर्बन सेंटर्स में. अर्बन अनोनिमिटी जो है सर, अर्बन अनोनिमिटी इज समथिंग दैट्स प्लेड एग्जाम्पलरी ग्रेट रोल. इट्स प्लेड एग्जाम्पलरी ग्रेट रोल इन हाइडिंग योर कास्ट आइडेंटिटी. बिकॉज अगेन अगर आप रूरल सेटिंग्स में होते हैं, everyone knows about your family, everyone knows about your gotra, your jati, your caste, everything out there. In urban centers, no one cares, no one have a time to know what you are. So even you can hide your last name as well. Even you can hide your last name as well. That's how a system works. That's how a system works out there. So that's how a system works out there. Again, sir, it's urban anonymity that's been a great asset in reducing the negative effects of caste out there, in reducing the negative effects of caste. I hope you got this point, and it's again very relevant out there. Okay. Another thing is, sir, educational access. Dramatic improvement in literacy and higher education enrollment. As you have seen, sir, with a lot of literacy rate, with a lot of awareness out there, even with the digital campaigns out there, people have garnered what we call a common sense. People have garnered a common sense out there. They have literally known, okay, this, you are not bound by your caste. You are bound by your education, your skills. Once you got that, there will be ample amount of opportunities waiting for you to uplift your social status or economic status out there. There will be ample amount of opportunity. But so that's, again, it's not 100% out there, but it's improving day by day. It's been improving day by day out there. So education access uski वजह से increase हुआ, because they got to know, even if you called as what Dalits out there, the role model is B.R. Ambedkar, and as you know, he has done PhD all over the world, London School of Economics, Columbia, Yale, all these stuff. His theses are still very much relevant in the present times and fuel. So they got an idea, okay, education can break that caste barrier, can break that one system and the caste barrier that's been there in the system or in the society as well. So got to know. अब वो reality बन चुकी है, and that's why they are preferring. Everyone wants their kids to go school at this moment. Even आपकी अगर mates भी हैं, they are trying hard enough to get their student, to get their wards admitted in the school system as well, because that's where they can break or shackle or break the chains of this caste system, or basically what you call even class. As I said earlier, जब Britishers आए थे, they obviously interchangeably used caste and class. That was not the case at that time. But sir, आज ऐसा है. Take an example. If someone is from his historical roots, coming from a lower caste out there, he didn't get any sort of great opportunity out there. अब opportunity ही नहीं मिली तो वो क्या class change कर पाएगा? No, it's not. No, it's not possible. Once you are decline, once you don't get decent amount of opportunities out there to study in a good university out there, or to get great opportunities in your career as well, you will remain poor. That's how it is. So caste does affect your class. Does affect your class. Once you're born in a lower caste, of course you will be denied a lot of opportunities out there in the society. As a result, आपका class भी नीचे रहेगा. Lower caste will lead to lower class in most of the situations. Of course, there has been affirmative actions out there, reservation out there, but that's been a traditional system. That's been a traditional system out there. I hope you got this. I hope you got these points, all of these stuffs out there. I hope you got all of these points. So that's a declining relevance of caste. Caste has been reducing, a lot of actions being taken by the civil society organization, by the government, by the people, urban anonymity, even economic growth has to some reduce the relevance of caste out there. They only care about the people who can bring value to their firm, value to their output, and value to the goods. That's how thing works. Now, persistent influence. Is it completely declined? Is it completely eradicated? No. Is it completely abolished? No. Political mobilization. So there has been a scholar called Andre Bete. Andre. How to spell? That still plays very prominent role when it comes to caste vote bank politics. He says that Yadavs in Bihar still vote for their caste members out there. They doesn't look for infrastructure, they doesn't look for manifestos out there, doesn't care about the infrastructure or development, the growth of any sort of thing. They just see that if a person of a candidate belongs to a particular caste, they will vote for him. That's how thing works. Gives examples of Yadavs. Yadavs out there. He gives example. Economic disparities, as I've said, persistent wealth gaps and occupational clustering along caste line. It's been there because people, of course, there's been a called poverty trap out there. Once you remain poor, your next generation, there are good chances that your next generation will also remain poor because there will be no enough money to upskill yourself, to educate yourself. There will be hurdles, there will be what I call the lack of opportunities for you to compete with the general public out there. That's been there. That's been belong to a certain standard of living. That's been belong to a certain society that have everything out there to compete. So, अगर आप example भी देखें, a person coming from a lower class out there, a person coming from an upper class, not caste, class out there. अब आप देखिए यूपीएससी में अगर आप compete करें, one is preparing from a, I would say कि 2 screen phone में, and one is preparing from an Apple laptop, iPad, or all these stuff. One is getting a complete nutrition out there, one is doesn't get even the basic minimum 2 meals a day out there. दोनों compete कर रहे हैं यूपीएससी के लिए. किसके ज़्यादा chances हैं? एक को टेंशन इतनी है कि यार मैं नहीं करूँगा तो मेरा खानदान ऐसे कैसे चलेगा. दूसरे को ये टेंशन है कि अगर नहीं हुआ तो दूसरा ऑप्शन होगा कि शायद मैं यूएस यूके पढ़ने चले. How will you relate that? That's how a difference mindset is when the class is different. Obviously जिसके पास रिसोर्स का चांसेस ज़्यादा बढ़ जाते हैं कि क्लियर करने के ज़्यादा चांसेस बढ़ जाते हैं सर, कि क्लियर करने के ज़्यादा चांसेस बढ़ जाते हैं. That's how a persistent efforts are. That's how persistent. So अगर आपको देखना है कि क्या होता है सर, लोअर कास्ट से आ रहे हैं तो लोअर क्लास भी हो जाता है एक टाइम के बाद. Lower class eventually lead to lack of opportunity out there for you in the society to compete with a person who is coming from an affluent family out there, who is coming from an affluent family out there. So I hope you got this point. I hope you got this point. Another thing is sir, subtle discrimination. Maybe आज के time पे even when I say urban anonymity is there, no one cares about things, but there was still functioning of caste system. Explicitly, maybe not explicitly, but implicitly, caste discrimination is still practiced in the society at a very large scale. A very large scale. How? For example, there has been a tendency when you see that college में professors जो होते हैं वो majority CST हो. In the top management of the CEOs you called, top management persons you called in your college or big IMs, all these stuff, are general. There is no proper representation or proportional representation of a lower caste as well, in spite of having reservations. In spite of having reservations out there, there has least representation of these people out there in the top management. That's a critical thing out there. Critical thing out there. That why this has been not much, because there is subtle discrimination out there. There is still sort of discrimination that's been informal barriers. Barriers that's not visible but still are there. That's called informal barriers. Employment, housing, social interaction. Take an example. I'll give you an example. अगर household maid होती हैं, a lot of people don't give the utensils directly to them. के लिए separate घर में glasses या plates होती हैं. That's discrimination out. Maybe a caste based, maybe a class based, maybe a caste based or class based. That's how thing works. So that's how thing works because आप disparity तो create करते हैं. A lot of scholars in time of COVID-19 says that it's a new form of untouchability out there. COVID ko they called it a new form of untouchability. New form of touchability, new form of untouchability, which people were denied the direct connection, direct intersection or direct interaction with certain amount of people. That's a modern form of untouchability. जहाँ आप किसी को छू नहीं सकते थे, you want to remain isolated out. So that's how thing works. That's a new form of untouchability. A lot of scholars said that. Okay. Okay. Again, new form of untouchability is another. Skin disease को भी किसी का अगर हो जाता है, a lot of people say that skin diseases आप directly access नहीं कर सकते, touch नहीं कर. That's another form of untouchability. Is only a caste based? No. Widespread, it's a caste based, but medical issues are also there when it comes to untouchability. Medical issues are also prevalent when it comes to untouchability. Social norms, marriage patterns, marriage patterns. So even if you go to sites called itimshadi.com or all these sites for marriage or matrimonial sites out there, they'll prefer their partner. They'll prefer endogamy over exogamy. That's there. That's still there in 2025. If you can visit, go to this shadi.com and all these material ads out there. People still call for their caste member. Still call for their caste member. That's the preference number one. We don't care whether you are educated. We don't care whether you are employed or not. We don't care how much you earn or not. We just want that you should be a particular caste. So for example, if someone Agarwal wants to marry someone, he would want that certain other Agarwal would be there as a partner, bride or groom, whatever it is, whatever it is. That's endogamy, and that's been heavily criticized by the B.R. Ambedkar in his book called Annihilation of Caste. Yeah, that's how thing. That's how. Residential segregation. Residential segregation. So of course they have been called a certain terms called ghettos. Ghettos. Ghettos is a separate residential of a particular caste or a religion out there. You must have seen a lot of ghettos, a lot of Muslim dominated areas. So that particular Muslim dominated area is called ghettos. They have been living separately from the mainstream society or being isolated from the mainstream society out there. That's how things work, and that's how marriage pattern works. Social network remain within the caste bound. Okay. Not too much of social gathering, not too much of social interaction has among the intercaste section out. So these things are still prevalent. These things are still prevalent when it comes to practicing of caste system. Not explicit out there, but implicitly is being there all along the lines, even within the corporate nature that calls itself a competitive out there. Does it discriminate based on someone's religion, caste? It only wants work? No, sir. It does happen when a lot of people sitting top of a particular religion, of a particular caste, they prefer that person over others. They prefer certain person over others. Prefer certain persons over others. So I hope you got these points. I hope you got these points out there. I hope you got these points. Let's move on to the next. Let's move on. What's the next slide? Statistical reality, progress and persistence. Statistical reality, progress and persistence. So 61.7% there has been SC female literacy. SC female literacy drastically improved to 6%. That's been like, as we have said that course a lot of education out improved, awareness has been increased, common sense has been improved. People know if they want to break that caste barrier, education is the only route out there to uplift themselves as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar does, as Dr. B has. That's how thing works. It's been improving among SC female literacy. SC. If you know that Meena is one of the scheduled tribes out there, they have been absolutely phenomenal when it comes to UPSC results. A lot of Meenas grab this job, UPSC civil services job, and they have uplifted their what tribal status out there. But again, the problem is they have uplifted their tribal status. They are still using that system. They are still using that system to gain access to these jobs. So reservation has been, again, it's a tool to rectify the historical injustice. It's a tool to rectify the historical injustice, but it's been overused. It's been ill-used by all these people to exploit the loopholes of the system. To exploit the loopholes of the system out there. Again, sir, 5.8% intercaste marriages. Again, it's been on an increasing trend. It's been on an increasing trend. It's not completely there, as you can see in the matrimonial sites and these study.com, all these stuff. But again, a lot of people, because of love marriage, because of live-in relationship, a postmodern era relationship, they are being doing intercaste or interreligion marriage out there. Intercaste and interreligion marriage there as well. So all these stuffs been taking place. All these stuffs has been taking place. I hope you got this point. I hope you got this point. Another is Indians acknowledging caste-based discrimination exists. Pew Research says. Reports discrimination. As I said, there has been a discrimination even in schools, even in colleges. Colleges, as I said, branded colleges like IITs, AIMS, IIMs, all these stuff. So you got to know that there has been a discrimination that's been going on within the caste system, as acknowledged by the Pew Research 20. Research is a great research-based organization that gives you relevant statistics that can be used in your Pew Research. Pew Research. Research. Again, sir, if we go back to the income gap, SC/ST households earn 20 to 30% less than the general category. As I said, caste does show its shadows on a class system as well. Caste does show its shadows on its class system as well, because the generation or a family that's been going through a caste discrimination, it's every way possible that they will not get an equal amount of opportunities out there, and that's been replicated over generations again and again. That's been replicated over generations again and again, and as a result, जिसकी class कम है उसका class तो कम रहेगा ही, और जब class कम है, it will directly show you to that there has been an income gap between the two segments of society. Between the two segments of society, that's been a higher caste and a lower caste. That's been a higher caste and the lower caste out there. That's been on a higher caste and a lower caste. Let's move on to the next slide. Education, that's been a case study that we'll deal with. Caste in educational institutes. Caste in educational. As says sir, IIT admission paradox. Indian Institute of Technology represents India's educational meritocracy, yet it's been suffering. Yet it's been suffering with this caste paradox out there. Yet it's been suffering from the caste paradox out there. Caste paradox out there. Just let me open this. Caste paradox out there. So, sir, if you see that caste paradox, what says? Say, for example, reservation system ensure ST/ST representation. That SC representation is 15%, ST is 7.5% based on their population. There has been a hidden barriers when it comes to getting admission in these top tier institutes. First is coaching industry access. Elite coaching centers predominantly serve upper caste urban students. There has been a lot of things. As I said, a person, if you forget about the ITs, if you prepare for UPSC, there's a one person who is preparing from home, who is coming from an affluent family, who is studying from an Apple products, who's been getting all sort of nutrition out there, who is being, if he failed prelims, he just goes to the what we call a trip out there to refresh his mind. Chances are there that he will clear this exam in certain next attempt or not, because he's mentally free out there. And now compare it with a person out there that's not coming from an affluent family, that struggles to even get 2 meals in a day, that doesn't come from an elite colleges out there, that have a tension ki yaar, what if agar mera nahi hua, how will my family survive in this ruthless world out there? If that's the case out there, kiske chances are the better chance person coming from an affluent family, there is a good probability that he's going to clear this exam as compared to those who are coming from a lower class. That's our thing, and that's a rural urban thing as well. Those coming from an urban sectors who have studied in a DPS or what top tier colleges, Stephens, or all these stuff, has a better probability as compared to those who are coming from government schools. because there's been a difference. There's been difference of critical thinking. There's been difference of access to resources and all these stuff. So I hope you got this point. How caste and class interchangeably used, not earlier but lately. They've been first interchangeably used by the Britishers. Over the time, of course, the shadows of caste has been reflected on a class as well, has been reflected on a caste as well. So I hope you got this point. Cultural capital is another thing. What I called, see, cultural capital. What's a cultural capital out? What's cultural? See, when I talk about cultural capital, it's a non-monetary resource, non-monetary resource, non-monetary resource that helps to uplift your social status. That helps. That helps you. That helps you to uplift your social and economic status. Social economic status. Social and social and economic status. What's that social and economic status? For example, if your networks, for example, if your father and mother is working in a as a CEO or CFO in one of the most big fours out there, EY, PwC, obviously there will be no chance that you'll not get any sort of employment. That's impossible out there. You will get any kind of employment. Even the better case, in better case, you will start from a consulting firm as well. If you're coming from a great network, so if coming from an affluent family, because you have networks, that's called cultural capital. People who are coming from a tier 2 town or from a village as well, they don't have that cultural capital, don't have that bandwidth to create that cultural capital. They don't have that access or resources to create new friends out there. Of course, there has been a lot of inferiority complex as well. So that's how thing works. That's how thing works. Cultural capital is a non-monetary system that helps you to uplift your social and capital or economic status as well. It can be networks, it can be network, it can be good looks, it can be your caste, same surname, or I would say it will be your what? Networks, good look, caste, communication skills, communication skills. So of course, if someone is coming from an affluent family out there, he does have all of these things which help him to uplift his status in the society. All of this is considered to be as cultural capital, which majority of people lack. Which majority of people lack, as they are not coming from that sort of background in which their parents has occupied a certain domination position in certain management level, a certain management level out there. So cultural capital, hidden barriers, all these stuff has been there. Again, social networks, alumni networks often reproduce caste-based connections. Caste-based connection. Of course, if the majority of people that's been going in the IT are from a general caste, how will a ST will form a network from them? How will a ST form a network or group of chain of networks out there? That will be impossible for him. That will be impossible. Even the placement disparities has been there. In a premium engineering suggests that persistent networking advantages. And networking advantages is nothing but a part of cultural capital, cultural capital, but a part of cultural capital out there. Hope you got all of these points. I hope you got all of these points out there. How when the top engineering colleges are faced by this caste paradox out there. Reservation is a different system, it's altogether a different topic. We'll obviously discuss that in some class out there in a detailed manner, in cover all of these topic from all the time being. It's been done. We have seen how important it is. PYQ has been asked for this. In this, use all of this information in your GS1 as well as in your test. So I hope you got these points. at this point. Even this is one of the case studies out there. That's University of Hyderabad, the Rohit Vemula case. Rohit Vemula case was nothing but he was a student doing a PhD, Dalit PhD, doing PhD out there 2016, but it's been case that a differential treatment has caused a lot of mental harassment for this person called Rohit Vemula. Called informal segregation was there. Informal segregation was there. Mental health was impacted, and as he said, Rohit Vemula's final letter: "My birth is my fatal accident, and I can never recover from my childhood loneliness, unappeasable hunger I have always had, that comes from my darkness and the gap that divides me from birth is my fatal accident." He's, of course, ascribed status is there, one of the ascribed status, and that's very renowned case out there. You can use Rohit Vemula case when if you have to describe a certain discrimination out there in your essay exam. So this is the pinnacle of an example that you can use in your Rohit Vemula. Do search about him. Read a certain article if you find that on international debate as well. A lot of medias at that moment of time, 2016, has covered this case. So I hope again it will be a fruitful session for you. You got to know a lot of stuff out there. Do check out this session. Know if I for this time.